One thing I forgot about my last review, my Halloween review, was this. Um, Now, the movie has aged. It is 30 years old by now. Um, has that lessened the impact of the original Halloween in any way? And it's a really tough question to answer. One, the sequels and the screwed up continuity. Nearly impossible to follow the continuity just because you have the first two that set up everything. And then you have parts 4, 5, and 6, which form a loose trilogy and introduces and reveals that a character was killed off and introduces her daughter. If you haven't figured out that that's Laurie Strode, then yeah, you're lost. But yeah, Laurie Strode reveals that her and her husband were killed in a car accident, and their lone daughter, Jamie, was taken in as a foster child. Yeah. So you have that, and then you have this. After Jamie is killed off in part 6, and Dr. Loomis dies, and all this other stuff, you have Halloween H2O, which is considered the first true sequel to Halloween 2. In fact, they don't even call it Halloween 7. They call it Halloween 20 years later, or Halloween H2O. Lame, underwhelming title, but it's effective nonetheless, and it brings back Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, the sequels suck. They lessen the impact of the first movie greatly if you know about them. It no longer becomes scary, but it's still a very entertaining film to watch and study. But because of these sequels, especially with part 2, there is a motive given to the shape, Michael Myers. No longer is he just a mental patient that at 6 years old killed his sister, destroying whatever humanity this child had left. And 15 years later, he breaks out of an insane asylum and starts again by murdering teenagers. Stalking and murdering teenagers. That was it. There really was no motive why he chose Laurie Strode. She just stepped on his doorstep and he just figured it was time for her to die. Now, the original vision for John Carpenter was that Michael Myers was purely and simply evil. He was the personification of the term. So, to give him a motive lessens the impact of his character, and of course that was given in part 2. Part 2, he follows his injured target to the hospital to kill her off. And a bunch of beautiful nurses and some dumb doctors and sex-crazed paramedics get in his way. And then it's revealed that Laurie Strode actually is the long-lost sister of Michael Myers. So, okay, Mikey's no longer scary. He's just out to kill his family, so as long as you don't know any of his family members, you're freaking safe. Instead of him just going out on a whim and stalking and killing anybody, specifically teenagers, he'll just kill, his family members and anyone that, gets in his way. That's it. So as long as you don't know Laurie Strode or Carrie Tate or whatever persona, if you don't know anyone that looks strangely like Jamie Lee Curtis, you're fine. But it didn't matter because they killed him off anyway. Part 1, Mikey's dead. Part 2, Mikey's dead. He blows up in the hospital building. Now, with part 3 is removed from the entire series, so I'm not going to get into part 3. John Carpenter decided that if he was going to do Halloween, let's turn it into an anthology. Each year was going to be a different story, summarizing the holiday. Bleh. Flash forward 8 years. The year is 1988, And Halloween 4 has just hit theaters, and we're all wondering how are they going to bring him back. Clearly, he's dead. John Carpenter said himself in a in an interview. He says the Shape is dead. Dr. Loomis, unfortunately, toast. That's it. So how are they going to bring him back? Well, they pull out the biggest cop-out since trying to think of movies that had really big cop-outs in the 1980s and 1970s. The biggest cop-out since Psycho 2. There we go. Alright, so we have the biggest cop-out since Psycho 2. Well, it turns out that Mikey Myers is been in a coma for 10 years. From 1978, apparently that flesh-charred body that we saw just burning away at the end of Part 2. He's been in a mental asylum recuperating for 10 years, and so has Loomis. I guess it could be said that Dr. Loomis escaped through a window and then succumbed to his injuries and was found and was taken to another hospital, rested the health, and now he's partially paralyzed on one side, so he's got to walk with a cane, he's got some hideous scars. Well, it just doesn't work. Really. But it didn't matter. Michael Myers was back, everyone was happy to see the Shape murdering. But who's his victim gonna be? Now, they could have done something where he just comes out of the asylum and just starts killing people. But no. They decided, oh, the biggest cop-out since bringing him back from the dead. He's got a niece named Jamie. And an 8-9-year-old niece. Let's have her be the victim. Now, I don't mind a children in peril story if it's done right. But Halloween 4? A crazed psycho lunatic that's just after a little girl? There's something seriously wrong with these people! Alright, so Michael Myers, once again, he can't be stopped. He gets shot up, hit in the head a bunch of times. He gets shot up again. Oh, wait, no, I think he only got shot up one time. Yeah, so he gets shot up. Falls down an abandoned well, and, really, we only have the only redeeming feature of Halloween 4 is the ending. And if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert! You see, in a direct homage to the first Halloween, her stepmother decides she's going to run Jamie a bath and, get her all cleaned up, because she looks horrible by the end of this movie. She, you see, in a Panaglide moment, there's a figure roaming around, creepy, eerily, almost as effective as the original 78 shot. Grabs a pair of scissors, what scissors would be doing around in a bathroom, I would not know. Puts on a mask and repeatedly stabs her stepmother. And they kind of just revealed it right there. When Loomis runs upstairs thinking the Shape has returned, he sees a bloody Jamie with the kitchen shears. And you're just in shock. Oh my god, this child just... What, is she going to be the next bloodline? Is she going to be the next killer? Is this movie going to flash forward like a whole mess of years and it's going to be like Halloween Part 1, only with a female serial killer? No. No. She goes insane and she's locked up in a mental institution where she is a mute. She can't talk. And Michael Myers turns out to be nursed to health by some bum who he later kills exactly 1 year later. So he goes on his little bloody rampage once again, out to get his out to get his niece, and everyone's all hunky-dory. You know, we gotta kill Michael, but we don't know how to get him. Well, here's the plot twist. It seems that when she touched Michael's hand at the end of part 4, it sort of, like that killer gene kind of, you know, manifested itself onto her, and it made her do some horrible things. And the bonus is she now has a psychic rapport with her uncle. So she gets to see all the bad things he's doing. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. So then Michael's finally stopped. Loomis is supposedly dead. And he's chained up in a, comically chained up, wrapped around in chains, in a cell when this mysterious man in black shows up. Kind of looks like the Shadow. You don't see him in the front, you just see him from behind. It kind of looks like the Shadow with cowboy boots. And he starts opening fire on the police station and kills all the cops, and Michael's gone. Series is pretty much abandoned from part 5 until part 6, about 4 or 5 years later. Here we have Michael Myers. Turns out he was in a mental institution. Or someplace. I mean, it wasn't really revealed where he was, but... And there's some sort of ritual where it's called the Ritual of Thorn, where Michael was actually cursed upon birth to murder his entire bloodline. Yeah, they're trying to bring some closure. They're trying to bring some reasoning into why Michael is the way he is, instead of just some unstoppable killing machine personification of evil. He's just a man, a child, a baby, cursed through all eternity to kill his family. Does he succeed? No, he does not. Flash forward. Donald Pleasance died, so no more Halloween with Donald Pleasance. And really, those are the only good reasons to watch parts 4 and 5 and 6, is Dr. Loomis. Other than that, the movie's total crap. Now, we go into Halloween H2O, and we go into Halloween Resurrection. Halloween H2O tries to bring balance back into the franchise, into a straight-up horror thriller. And it works! It really does work. It brings back Laurie Strode, who has actually faked her own death. But not so much in continuity with... It kind of erases parts 4, 5, and 6 from continuity. So you really can't go by all of that. But it kind of does, because she fakes her own death, and you see bloodied scissors in pictures, and it's kind of messed up. It's almost like they wanted to acknowledge that these sequels existed, but at the same time, they're not canon anymore. So Mikey goes to find his sister, tracks her down to California, and his rampage begins once again, and she realizes that she's going to have to kill him. She can't run anymore. She has to fight. And in the end, with an axe, chops his head off. But wait! It wasn't him! In the Halloween Resurrection, it turns out that she actually killed a paramedic that he disguised himself as. Once again, biggest cop-out since he went into a coma in part 4. So now he's going off and killing all these teenagers in his childhood home. They're trying to bring the franchise back by killing off his sister. He's not done yet. He's going to start killing off teenagers. However, Halloween Resurrection sucked. And once Jamie Lee Curtis died, so did the Halloween franchise. And we get the remakes. Now, Halloween Resurrection does have some redeeming qualities. It has an interesting concept. It's not pulled off right, but it is interesting. But it's just lacks in scares, and just because you have a big budget doesn't mean you have a good horror film.